Alright guys, here it is. This is my list of the best, no, not the best, my favorite running shoes of 2024. Now look, here's how we're going to do it. I am going to start over here. I'm going to work down the line. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of the shoes that I've picked. And guys, I do have to say that I have put some thought into this. I had to make some very difficult decisions because there have been so many good shoes in 2024. But I have whittled it down. I think some of these shoes are not going to be surprising to anyone. I think maybe some of these shoes are going to be very surprising to some of you. But anyway, this is it. My faves. Let's get into it. Now, before we get started, I do just want to say that I am a shoe reviewer. Most of the time, brands do send me shoes for review. However, no one ever tells me what to say. No one outside of me has any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions on all of these shoes are my own. So with that, let's get started. And we are going to get started with a shoe that I don't think is going to surprise anyone. This is the Adidas SL2. Now, the SL2 has received a lot of positive reviews from shoe reviewers and runners around the world. Adidas did very well with the SL2. And the thing that opens it up to so many people is the price. The SL2 only costs $130. So right there, we are opening the door to a lot of runners. And once you get this shoe on your feet, you really find where the value is. Because the shoe does a little bit of everything. Now, the SL2 does have 36 in the heel, 27 in the forefoot for a 9mm drop. Now, Adidas has redone the upper on the SL2. They've made it softer. They've made it more breathable. Basically, they've made it better. And then when we come down to the outsole, it's basically a sandwich. The bread of the sandwich is Light Strike 2.0, and in the middle, we have a full length of Light Strike Pro. Now, a US men's size 9 in the SL2 will only tip the scale at 8.3 ounces, or 236 grams, and in my size, a US men's size 13, it tips the scale at 10.2 ounces, or 290 grams. So it's pretty light, and we do have a fairly substantial stack height. And what this makes is that the SL2 is good for pretty much everything. It's a solid daily trainer, it's light enough, and we have that full layer of Light Strike Pro, which is going to encourage you to pick up the pace, and there's plenty of padding everywhere that just makes it a very comfortable option. So for $130, my choice for the low-cost daily trainer that kind of does it all is the Adidas SL2. Moving on. Now, look, I had first thought when I put this next shoe into this video, I was going to do it as kind of like an honorable mention. But this shoe does deserve its own category because it's just a little different from the Adidas SL2. Guys, this is the Brooks Hyperion 2. And while it may not be as versatile as the Adidas SL2, it's definitely faster. So this is kind of like a medium cushion up-tempo trainer, and it's not plated. Now, the Brooks Hyperion 2 will only cost you $140, so it's still very affordable, although it's $10 more than the Adidas SL2, and we have about 30mm in the heel, 22 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. Now, for some of you, that is not much cushion. Like, you like a little more. So perhaps this isn't going to be as good as a daily trainer if you run high mileage, but I know that in my full review of the Brooks Hyperion 2, I said that it could be used as a daily trainer. The only thing is, it's better suited at running fast because this thing is like super light. In fact, in a US men's size 9, Brooks claims that this shoe will tip the scale at 6.8 ounces or 193 grams, and in my size, a US men's size 13, it tips the scale at 8.5 ounces or 241 grams. Guys, in my size, 241 grams is like a feather. Now, it's very comfortable. It's got a good step and feel. We've got a good amount of padding coming around the heel collar. The upper is nice. Brooks has included some locking laces on this shoe. Now, locking laces, I think, is the only way to go. If everybody did away with every lace that they do and switched to these laces, I think the world would be a better place. And the Brooks Hyperion 2 is featuring Brooks's DNA Flash V2. Now, this is the same foam that they put in their top-of-the-line Hyperion Elite 4. So it's very responsive. It feels great underfoot. It feels fantastic when you want to pick up the pace. So if you're looking for a non-plated, medium cushion shoe at a great price, $140, the Brooks Hyperion 2 is definitely one that you're going to want to take a look at. Oh, and if you wanted to use this on race day, guys, it's not going to steer you wrong. This is a fast shoe. Okay, moving on to a similar shoe, but of a higher stack. Remember, the Brooks Hyperion 2 had no plate. We are also going up to a little higher stack training shoe, so an up-tempo daily trainer with no plate. And for this category, my choice is the Topo Spectre 2. And there's a lot of reasons I like the Topo Spectre 2. But first of all, this will cost you $165. So the price is bumping up just a little bit, but you're still getting a lot for that $165. And mainly, I'm talking about this full slab of Pebax foam. This is really where the magic happens in the Topo Spectre 2. But I also like the aesthetic of Topo shoes. I like how simple they are. A lot of running shoes, it just seems like, you know, there's a lot going on with the upper. Topo has really dialed in their design. It's very simple. This upper is breathable. There's a lot of padding around the heel collar. I do like how the heel end of this shoe kind of sticks out a little bit. I just like how it looks, and I love how it feels underfoot. Now again, this is a non-plated PEBA shoe, so it's fairly flexible. And I know a lot of you out there are not looking for a plated shoe on anything other than race day. And if you are that person, then the Topo Spectre 2 is definitely worth taking a look at. Now, the only downside that I found about the Topo Spectre 2 is that when I was running in it in the summertime, it seemed to soak up sweat quite a bit. So I think maybe this upper is quite absorbent, or at least more so than some other shoes. But for me, that was a small price to pay. The shoe still made my favorites list. And that's because of this PEBA foam. It feels good, and this is really a fun shoe to run in. Speaking of shoes that are fun to run in, I think the next section is probably the most popular in all of running, and that's the plated up-tempo daily trainer. So this is not a race day shoe, although they most certainly could be used for race day, but this is a shoe that features a plate, and it's going to give you that kind of race day feeling without that race day price. Now, it seems that every brand has put out a solid option in the plated up-tempo daily trainer segment, but my favorite for 2024 is this. This is the Hoka Mach X2. And look, when I made my full review of the Hoka Mach X2, I kind of knew that this had the potential to be shoe of the year material. And wouldn't you know it, we get to the end of the year and it still fits. Now, the Hoka Mach X2 will cost you $190, and that's certainly not cheap, but it does offer a lot. So the Hoka Mach X2 has 42 in the heel, 37 in the forefoot for a 5mm drop. Hoka claims that in a US men's size 10, the Mach X2 would tip the scale at 9.2 ounces or 260 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 13, it tips the scale at 10.3 ounces or 293 grams. So look, I know this is not the lightest shoe, and there's also one thing about it that I really don't like, but saying that, this shoe is so fun to run in and feels so good on my feet that it's still made my best of 2024 list. Okay, so first of all, Hoka has made this lovely engineered mesh upper. It's very coarse. I wouldn't want to run in this shoe with no socks, but it's a nice coarse upper. It holds its shape and it is very breathable. I mean, I can see right inside the shoe looking through the upper. So first of all, that's very race inspired. Now, the Mach X2 is using a dual density midsole. You can see on my colorway, I don't know if that's going to focus, but we have the white foam on the front, that's PEBA. We have more of this yellow foam in the back, that's an EVA. And you can obviously see we've got more EVA in the heel, more PEBA in the forefoot. And that's because, generally speaking, when we run fast, we are going to be landing more on our midfoot to forefoot, so we're taking advantage of that PEBA foam and everything good that goes with it, as in more responsiveness. Now, sandwiched in between these two layers is a Pebax plate, that's a plastic plate, and that makes the shoe fairly rigid, and it gives the shoe a lot of pop. My friends, this shoe is fun to run in. I think for those of you that are looking for a race day shoe that don't want to quite jump up to those race day prices, I think the Mach X2 is a really good option. This shoe feels fast on your feet. Now, I did mention there was one thing I didn't like, and this I am hoping that Hoka changes next year for the Mach X3, and that's this heel. Hoka has made it so it's very race inspired. There is no heel counter. It's very floppy here on the back. And basically, I don't get the best heel lockdown in the Mach X2. Now, don't get me wrong. I have gone out and I have knocked out a lot of workouts in this shoe, and it's not that I'm slipping. It's never given me a blister, but it just doesn't feel tight enough. But even so, I know I already said it, but I'm going to say it again because it is worth repeating. This is such an exciting shoe that it is still my favorite plated up-tempo daily trainer of the year. It's just so fun to run workouts in this shoe. Now, if you don't have issues with heel slip in a lot of shoes, I think the Hoka Mach X2 is just, it's a no-brainer. You need to go and pick this up. If you're someone that does have a lot of heel issues, as in you do get some heel slip when you don't have a solid heel counter, it might be worth skipping the Mach X2. But for me, yeah, this shoe works. Now, moving on. Because this plated up-tempo trainer section is just so saturated, I have picked another shoe in the same category as one of my other favorites, and that is the New Balance SC Trainer V3. Hold on just a second. Now, I did pick the Hoka Mach X2 as my favorite plated up-tempo daily shoe for a reason, and that is this shoe feels fast and it's fun to run in. The New Balance SC Trainer V3 also feels fast. It's definitely fun to run in, but I think the Hoka Mach X2 is just a little snappier. But with that said, the reason that I picked the New Balance SC Trainer V3 is because I think it's going to work for more people. It's a very good shoe, but for me, the Mach X2 just feels faster. But the New Balance SC Trainer V3 has a more traditional upper. We've got a lot more padding around this heel collar. We have a semi-rigid heel counter, so I didn't get any heel slip in the SC Trainer V3. And New Balance claims that in a US men's size 9, the SC Trainer V3 will tip the scale at 9.2 ounces or 261 grams. So that's like the same weight as the Hoka sample size, only the Hoka sample size is a size 10 10, the New Balance sample size is a size 9, and in my size, in the SC Trainer V3, a US men's size 12.5, it tips the scale at 11.6 ounces or 329 grams. So it's just a little heavier than the Mark X2 in my size. Now, New Balance is using their fuel cell foam, and that's a lovely PEBA blend, and there is a full-length carbon fiber plate running through the shoe. The shoe is very stiff. So with that stiffness, with that PEBA blend foam, you are getting a nice snappy ride. I think maybe if you were going to use a shoe that you wanted to do a few more runs in it than just picking up the pace, I think maybe the SC Trainer V3 will work better as more of a daily trainer than the Mark X2. But for what these shoes are designed for, again, the Mark X2 just feels a little faster, feels a little snappier. But the SC Trainer V3, I think, is going to work for more people. It's a really solid option. Okay, let's move on to what I think is going to be a couple surprising picks. Next up is the Max Cushion Daily Trainer section. And for this, look, I picked this up. This is a heavy shoe, and yet it just works. Guys, this is the Brooks Glycerin Max, and I have surprised myself with how much I like this shoe. Now, what I don't like about this shoe is the price. This will cost you $200, but look at that gorgeous shoe with that giant stack height. This has 45.25 in the heel, 39.25 in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. So you're getting a lot of protection in this shoe. You're getting a lot of protection everywhere because this heel collar is just stacked. We have a super rigid heel counter. We're not getting any heel slip in this shoe. We've got a nice fat tongue. Guys, the Brooks Glycerin Max, it's like a Cadillac, right? It's built for comfort. It wraps around your foot. It feels great. It is surprisingly stable for having such a high stack height, but that's probably due to this quite wide base. And then while we're down on the base, let's talk about the midsole foam, because this is the reason that the Brooks Glycerin Max has made my favorites of 2024 list. Because in this shoe, Brooks is using their brand new DNA tuned midsole, and basically it's two different types of foam, or at least different in that they're manufactured differently. Up here on the forefoot, we have a foam where the cells or the bubbles are very small, so they're tightly packed, and that is going to lead to a very responsive toe off. Now, if we come down to the heel and surrounding this section of smaller bubbles, we have the nitrogen infused foam with bigger bubbles. So small bubbles in the front, bigger bubbles in the back. And this nitrogen infused bigger bubble foam is going to give you a pillowy soft ride, and it's really going to give you the comfort that you're looking for from a Max Cushion Daily Trainer. So I guess the main reason that I chose this as one of my favorites for 2024 is because of this smaller cell section in the front, because I expect Brooks to bring me comfort, right? I think we associate Brooks with comfortable shoes, but what I don't associate with a Max Cushion Daily Trainer is a shoe that has some pep. And this section in the front, when I start to pick up the pace, like, it really works. This shoe is a behemoth. It's certainly not light. In my size, this weighs 379 grams. And yet, when I go to pick up the pace, because of this small cell foam structure in the front, it does pick up the pace, and it's surprising. So I like it. I like the comfort. And then speaking of comfort, but slightly different, we do have another Max Stack Height Daily Trainer, but this time we have a carbon fiber plate inside. So this is a fairly small niche. There aren't a lot of daily trainers with plates, but for this section, I have chosen the Hoka Skyward X. Now, again, listen, not a fan of the price. $225 for the Skyward X. It's expensive, but what you're getting is a boatload of comfort and a lot of technology built into this shoe. So the Hoka Skyward X has 46mm in the heel, 41 in the forefoot for a 5mm drop. So in US men's size 10, the Hoka Skyward X tips the scale at 11.3 ounces or 320 grams, but in my size, a US men's size 12.5, Skyward X tips the scale at 13.1 ounces or 371 grams. So the Skyward X is just 7 grams less than my size of the Glycerin Max, but honestly, that's not enough weight to be noticeable. These both feel very similar and very similar on the heavy side. But we do have a lot of padding around the heel collar for extreme comfort. We've got a nice big elf ear on the back, really solid heel counter right here. Again, no heel slip in the Skyward X. Nice padded tongue, but again, look, we're talking about the upper. Most of these brands are doing their uppers right, but the magic is in this midsole and what's inside the midsole foam. So first of all, Hoka is using a dual density setup with the Skyward X. We have PEBA and we have a supercritical EVA. Then sandwiched in between this PEBA and the supercritical EVA is a carbon fiber plate, which makes this probably the most stiff shoe that I have. It is super stiff. Now, if I hold this shoe up, you can see the carbon fiber plate, how it's kind of shaped. You can see the crossbars right here. But what's special about the carbon fiber plate on the Skyward X is that it's convex. So it kind of goes like this. And that creates a kind of feeling of suspension. So when you touch down, that convex carbon fiber plate kind of compresses and then it springs you off with every step. Does it feel like a spring? No, it doesn't. But it does feel like something. It feels like it's giving you back something. And for a shoe of this weight, for a shoe that is this comfortable, that you're going to go out and you're going to put in the miles, it's a pretty special feeling. And it's not one that you can get with other shoes like this Max Cushion, just daily trainer shoe. It's a very comfortable ride to run in. Next up, I do just want to talk about a race day shoe. So my favorite race day shoe of the year, and there have been a few, but I will be straight up and let you know that I haven't tested all of the race day shoes out there. I mean, I've tested a few, but there have been several that I haven't tested. But luckily for me, I did find one that worked very well. And my favorite race day shoe of 2024 is this. So the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. Now, I raced the 2024 Boston Marathon in this shoe and it performed like a champ. And to me, this shoe gives everything that you're looking for in a race day shoe. Now, the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris and its partner, the Sky Paris, will cost $250. That's kind of standard for race day shoes. And I gotta say, I think this shoe is worth every penny because this shoe is fast and I don't know. I want to say it will make you faster. I feel like it made me faster. I feel like I ran better because I was running in the Metaspeed Edge Paris. Now, I'll try and describe this shoe to you, but nothing is going to come as a surprise. We have a little bit of padding coming around the heel collar. This is actually pretty nice because it is a comfortable step-in feel. We have a solid heel counter on this shoe, which I love. Remember, back with the Mark X2, we didn't have this heel counter, so I was getting that heel slip. In the Metaspeed Edge Paris, yeah, great lockdown right here. The upper is like a screen door wrapping around your foot. It is so breathable. Again, I can see right inside the shoe. Asics is using locking laces, which is fantastic. Again, it's the only way to go. I don't have to worry about my laces coming untied on race day. The tongue is not gusseted, it's a very thin piece of felt, which I think for some people may lead to a little lace bite on the top of your foot, but it didn't for me. Like, this shoe is both fast and comfortable. And then of course the midsole foam, which really is the engine of this shoe. Asics is using their Flight Foam Turbo Plus. And guys, this is a solid update over the previous Metaspeed Edge and Metaspeed Sky where they were using Flight Foam Turbo. Flight Foam Turbo Plus is just a big departure. It's much faster. It feels fairly soft and extremely propulsive underfoot. Now, part of that propulsion comes from this carbon fiber plate. And look, I know I said that the Skyward X was my most stiff shoe, but no, I take that back. The Metaspeed Edge Paris is like a brick. So when you load this plate, you are going to be storing energy. And when it comes time to return that energy, it's just going to come back in the form of like throwing you forward. It's a fast shoe. Like, as far as race day shoes, I knew that this was the one that I wanted to choose. It's a fun option. So now I want to hear from you. What has been your favorite shoe of 2024? Drop a comment and let me know. I also want to know if you agree with me or you disagree with me on any of these options. Remember, we have the Adidas SL2, the Brooks Hyperion 2, the Topo Spectre 2, the Hoka Mark X2, the New Balance SC Trainer V3, the Brooks Glycerin Max, the Hoka Skyward X, and the Asics Metaspeed Edge Paris. All right, that's it for now. Guys, it's Matt B. This has been my favorite shoes of 2024. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.